very beautiful Thursday morning on AM45. Focus on AM45 returns after 8 days, and today we are very glad to have you back, seated and ready to be informed, educated, and entertained. My name is Heidi James. My pleasure to be back after 1 week, and also to announce that Focus is back bigger and better. Okay, so today Focus will be here and there, more of a potpourri, because we know that the PFN chairman, Bishop Emmanuel Etem, will be here before we close. That will be the stomping ground that's talking about the state of the nation. We'll look at the church and politics. But before then, the first slot will be taking a look at pension. A lot of people don't even know, especially those who are under the federal government, don't know that there are so many incentives available for them to access funds even while they are working through their contributory pension scheme. And then we will talking about it. We'll talk about, we have a consultant in the house, so that when the time comes, we will bring him to talk about pension generally, the policies, and what have we. Thereafter, the press will be on, and I'm told Samuel Cyril is already on his way to take us on the segment, the Sam Inspirational segment, where you are motivated to take a conscious or to make a conscious effort to achieve what you should achieve. Okay, the press, but Pride Solution and his gang will also take center stage when the time is now. Welcome, sit back, have fun, enjoy every bit of the show. But presently, the principal consultant of ABIC consulting firm, a pension firm, a pensioner who lives and acts pension, is blood, but on this occasion is actually coming to talk to us about pension. So if you are a federal civil servant, he will tell us the category of people that have been enrolled in the pension scheme, the activities, what efforts can a consultant do to bring you to the place of knowing it all. James is the principal consultant, ABIC Consulting. I'm sure with that surname you should know now that this one is blood. Is the principal consultant, ABIC Consulting firm, number 5, Wellington Bassiwe, Uyo. Good morning, James.
Good morning, James. It's a pleasure being on the show this morning.
You are Richard. Look at it. You're looking bigger. Okay. Nagod, I see. Let's talk about pension. Now, I don't know. As state government, let's start from state government. As in the present, since 2023 elections were over, I'm sure this is about the first time I'm bringing you to TV. Ever since they were sworn in, are there chairmen, are there governors who have embraced the contributory pension scheme?
Yes, there are a few states that are actually at the implementation or at the legislative stage.
Okay.
For instance, Bayelsa states, and then Cross River are the two states that are working on the contributory pension scheme. For Akwa Ibom, it's still in the House of Assembly.
Oh, they've already done the paperwork?
They are actually on it.
Okay.
Yes. And but for sure, Cross River and Bayelsa, they are almost at the stage of implementation. Those
Okay.
are the two states, yes, that have embraced after the. In fact, Bayelsa started even before the 2023 general elections. You know, their own election timetable is quite
Yes,
different
different
from
from.
that of the other states of the federation.
Okay. Now let's look at the PENCOM itself. Now, the National
Pension
Pension
Commission.
Commission, and its relationship with uh, pensioners. Talk to us about the scheme and the benefits.
Okay, the scheme itself is quite a laudable one. Talking about PENCOM, PENCOM is the regulatory body. You know, like CBN regulates banks. PENCOM does the job of supervising the pension fund administrators. As pension fund administrators are more or less like the special purpose vehicle,
Mm.
you know, used to implement the scheme across the states of the federation. So PENCOM supervises, regulates, gives guidelines, you know, for the implementation of the scheme across the state. So PENCOM is more or less like the regulator of the contributory pension scheme.
Okay, so but let's talk about the vehicles now. Talking
Okay.
about the
Pension fund administrators.
pension fund administrators. How healthy are they, and what are their responsibilities to the pensioner?
Okay, it's quite simple. Um, recently we've had a lot of mergers and acquisitions. You know, talking about how healthy the pension fund administrators are, and I want to state it that the PFAs are very healthy. And if there should be any challenge with any of the PFAs, no pensioner will lose any funds, because PENCOM would just look for a healthier PFA, and then those funds, both liability and assets, will be transferred to the healthier PFA. So more or less like banks, you know, where CBN used to give bailout funds. So PENCOM does something similar. So if we have any challenges on any of the PFAs, PENCOM intervenes to ensure that contributors do not lose their assets, because pension funds are classified as assets. So they try to guard such funds. And then the PFAs, like I said, are special purpose vehicles. They are the ones who collect the pensions, manage, and then give good returns on investments, and then also ensure that at the point of retirement, the retirees are paid whatever is agreed as stipulated in the Pension Reform Act.
Okay, so that means pension fund administrators and PENCOM work hand in hand.
Definitely.
Now, what role does a consultant play?
Okay. You know, I've worked in several PFAs, and then we identified a problem, a need in the contributory pension scheme. We saw that a lot of clients used to have challenges, you know, accessing their pensions, and you know, there's little you could do if you are in a particular organization. There are different policies that will tie your hands, you know, towards rendering a certain category of help which the clients are supposed to do for themselves. So we just said, okay, having identified this gap, we said, okay, let's see how we can set up a consulting firm that would play an intermediary role between the PFAs, the clients, and then the National Pensions Commission. That's what Betted Abic Consulting Limited. So at Abic, we basically solve problems related with pensions, challenges related with pensions, towards giving the client an expected end.
Okay, so now you've said something about consultants. You've also said about PFAs. There's this other one you call PFM. Is that what you call
PFCs?
PFCs.
Yes.
Who are they?
They are the custodians. You know, the pension is structured in such a way that those assets are jealously guarded. Okay. You know, they've tried to experiment plenty pension schemes, and sometimes at some point it fails. You know, looking at the defined benefit scheme, which was the one we had before CPS, there were a lot of lapses. So they now sat down and said, okay, let's re-strategize and see how we can bring out an acceptable framework where at the end everybody goes home satisfied. So they now said, okay, let's divide the job. So we now have the pension fund administrators who only do administrative work, and then we have the pension fund custodians who custody the funds. Now what that means is, as organizations are contributing, it is the PFCs, that's the pension fund custodians, who collect the monies and keep. So what happens is, for instance, if a pension fund administrator wants to, somebody wants to withdraw money, what he does is he does the paperwork, submits the documents to the pension fund administrator. The pension fund administrator will now send a directive to the pension fund custodian to pay the client who applies for a benefit, whether it is 25%, whether it is 50%, or whether it is a disease benefit application. So that's how it works.
Okay, so now let's even talk about the pension scheme itself. A lot of people retire, and in the end, you keep hearing them. I had an old woman who retired, and when she went to get her money, she was told that she was in two different pension managers. What's that?
Okay. There are a lot of things that could be responsible for such issues. One is, we have organizations where HRs impose PFAs on contributors,
Okay.
Which is quite unhealthy. The pension scheme currently we have, I think, about 23 pension fund administrators, and the law says nobody should impose a PFA on any contributor. You choose a PFA you want to belong to. But we have some HRs who insist, we want to work with a particular PFA, and so sign up with that PFA. And then at the end, for instance, if I had worked in a particular organization before, I already had a PIN, and now move into a new organization that is working with a particular PFA. There's a tendency that the HR will tell me, I don't want to work with that your pension manager again. Sign up with this new pension manager. That could be issue number one. Issue number two could be that someone could even have a PIN with a pension manager and is not aware. And so another opportunity comes up. The person ignorantly opens a second account. Whereas under the pension scheme, you're not supposed to have more than one pensions account. So that could be the issue. But it's a solvable problem under the data recapture scheme, where contributors are expected to submit their data to their pension managers for an update. So these updates, at the point of updating, PENCOM will observe, that you have two pins, and then they will match the pins, to a particular PFA.
Okay, now I want to ask this one now. Assuming, okay, what are those information a pensioner ought to know that you think people are not aware of? That will need, if I walk into a consultancy office and say, our consultant's office, and say, okay, what are those elementary things I ought to know even before coming to the firm?
Well, number one, I think more than 15 years after the CPS was implemented, there's a lot of knowledge gap. And so one of the job of the pension fund administrators is to bridge that gap. And as consultants, we are helping them bridge that gap. One of the things you need to know, which I tell any retirement savings account holder, is make friends with your pensions manager. Because as much as you have a bank account, and then every day you service your bank account, also try to service your pensions account. It's even more valuable than a bank account, because you will need it more than your bank account at the point of retirement. So the perception has always been, since I see the monies, I see the alert, I cannot touch it, let me leave it there until when I retire. That's when I can now start processing. But I always tell people, I say there are some issues that you cannot resolve in a year, sometimes because of the complications on the issues. For instance, if you have discrepancies in remittances, I've had somebody who has worked for 15 years in an organization, an MDA under the federal government. Nothing was being paid into the pensions account, and it was an omission, And issues like that, if the person had been following up, the person would have reconciled such issues with the pension manager if the person had been regularly visiting the pension manager. So one thing you need to know is your pensions account is as important as your bank account, and so make sure that you make friends, know your PFA, get informed on current trends in the pension industry, so that you'll not be lost, when the time comes that you need that information.
Okay, you are a pension consultant, and I think about the only one in Akwa Ibom State and its environment. What is your workload like? What do you do?
Okay, it's quite hectic. We had a lot of we set up shop in 2020, and since then we've been helping a lot of retirement savings account holders resolve issues that are pension related. Like I had mentioned earlier, we help process benefits of different kinds. We have the 25% for those who are still working, that PENCOM just introduced under the housing scheme, and then we also have the 25% for those who are in the private sector, who are no longer working, have been out of job for more than 4 months, you've not been able to get another job. An aspect of the CPS says you can take 25%, and then when you're up to 50, you take another 25%. And then we have death benefit issues. That's one of the greatest challenges. There are a lot of people who have died, and even their beneficiaries are not aware that they are suffering. They are not aware that the disease had a lot of money in pensions. So we help unravel that mystery. Yes, by liaising with the pension fund administrators, and then we help in the place of documentation. Without adequate documentation, it's practically impossible for you to access pensions. So if you walk into APIC, what we'll just do is give us the necessary information, and then we'll help you around all the documentation within record time. We don't only help you with the documentation, we ensure that we liaise between you and the pension managers, including our contacts at PENCOM, to ensure that your funds are released within record time.
Okay, so now you talked about 25%.
Yes.
How accessible is this money, considering the bottleneck? As PENCOM also recognize the fact that so many persons don't even have documents to be able to claim. What are the documents, and how easy is it for someone to access the 25%?
Well, the 25% mortgage is called residential mortgage. The essence is for the purpose of owning a home, by accessing a portion of your pension. But it has not been really easy, because in this part of our country, there's this monopoly. We have just one mortgage institution that is into that particular processing. That's Mutual Alliance. And so if you look at the number of people who want to access the funds compared to the number of institutions available, unlike Lagos and Abuja, where we have plenty options, it brings a lot of burden, on Mutual Alliance, the only surviving mortgage institution here that is running that scheme. So it's accessible. They had a little issue which they had solved, I think, like 4 or 5 months ago. So the scheme is a little bit seamless compared to what we used to have last year. So people can access their monies now if you have the right documentation, which includes, first of all, your PFA has to certify you qualified to access the scheme. That means there's an amount of money that you need to have for you to qualify. And of course, the first condition is you must have contributed for at least 60 months. That's employer-employee contribution for at least 60 months before you can also access the scheme. And then you shouldn't have less than 3 years before retirement to also be able to access the funds. But they are accessible if you have the
Oh,
right
you shouldn't have less than 3
years.
years.
Yes, before retirement.
Okay, but if you have put in up to 15 years,
you can access
the
scheme.
funding. But what are the bottlenecks?
Well, there are a lot of bottlenecks. Like I said, is around the issue of documentation, which is why we have ABIC Consulting. And then there are little financial constraints attached to the documentation. You know, the first level pre-approval and post-approval charges, you know, by the banks is a little constraint on the part of retirement savings account holders who want to access the scheme. But it's not something that is very difficult. If you come to ABIC, we will have solutions to such challenges.
Okay, so assuming you are number 5 Wellington Bassey Way,
Yes.
and I walk in now, just like every pensioner out there could walk in. What is the routine like?
Okay, you just walk in, tell us your challenge. We're like a hospital. Yes, we are like a hospital, and the only patients we admit are retirement savings account holders. And so if you walk into ABIC, I tell people, even if you don't have money, you walk into ABIC, you just tell us your problem, we provide a solution, and we even help provide the finances, solve the problem, and when the money is transferred to you, we get paid.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so apart from pension fund access or accessibility, what other things do you do as a consultant?
Okay, we do a lot of things. We help agencies, you know, organizations to get documentation. For those who are contractors, they want to get contracts from government or any agencies, we help them access, you know, the relevant documents that will help them get contracts or get certified in any field that is related to pensions. And then we also do some form of business support scheme. In fact, currently we have a program we want to launch. You know, like I said, ABIC is a problem solver, and we now discovered that there are a set of retirement savings account holders under the federal government scheme who retire and then have to wait for a certain period of time before their funds before they start paying them pensions. Yeah, and we discovered that this waiting period is always a very difficult period. So we now said, okay, let's set up a retiree survival fund.
Retiree
Survival fund, yes. So that within that waiting period of 1 year, if you register with us, we can be paying you a certain amount of money throughout that waiting period for a certain percentage, so that when your accrued rights comes and then they start paying you pensions, you can make a refund to us.
So what is the ceiling for this survival fund?
Okay, it's quite simple. What you just do is you walk into our office, we give you the form you fill, and then we would, first of all, when we get your PIN number, we'll reach out to your pension fund administrator to be sure that you are a retiree that is expecting accrued rights. And when we get that confirmation, we would now give you a letter of undertaking, which you will send to your pension manager, that when your accrued right arrives, we will be the ones to process, and then you pay it into a designated account, you know, so that we'll be able to track when it comes and to get our monies back. So it is a 12-month period. So we're doing it for retirees, you know, who have 1 year, who will wait for at least 1 year. So within that 1 year, we'll use your pay slip, your current pay slip, or your last pay slip before you retired, and other relevant documents to calculate a certain percentage of monies that will be paying to you. That's for the first part. Then for those who need loans to do a business within that period, you just choose, okay, you want to be going on a monthly salary, or you want to take a loan for a certain period. We have those two options. So for more information, they can come to our office at number 5 Wellington Bassey Way, at any time of the day and then make those inquiries.
Are you a pensioner out there and you're having challenges? You know, the job of some of us is to bring people who can offer help to the society, and we know that pensioners, it's a what's going on more. We have the television is here to help you and to bring you to the place of real knowledge. Okay, so James is the consultant of the principal consultant, ABIC Consultancy, ABIC Consulting, number 5 Wellington Bassey Way, and he can teach you, help you arrive at whatever information you need, and also help you to access your funding. James, as we round off, tell us why I should come to ABIC, and also give me your phone number as you leave. Why do I need a consultant?
There are various reasons why you need a consultant. Number one, like I mentioned earlier, is that there are some challenges that your PFA may not be in a position to assist you. You know, because for every organization, there are certain rules and regulations that bind every staff, and so they may not be able to go out of their way to provide those services or such challenges. So if you come to ABIC, our service is comprehensive, and then there are some information that, of course, is in the Pension Reform Act, but you know, an average African doesn't really like reading, so we read and then make you we read we read and summarize and then let you understand that there are some rights and privileges that are enshrined in the Pension Reform Act, you know, and so if you know these rights, definitely you wouldn't have challenges. And then we also help negotiate. What I mean by negotiate is, if you are a retirement savings account holder at ABIC, we help, especially those in the private sector, at the point of processing your monies with the pension manager. We can help you get a greater percentage than what you think you're supposed to or you are entitled to. So we can negotiate to say, okay, you're taking 25%. We say, okay, no, this man's money is so and so amount. Give him 40%, give him 50%. We help do that.